Welcome, everyone, to our podcast discussion. I'm Omar Mohammed. I love film and history. And joining me are my classmates Asa Russell, Santiago, and the incredibly smart, funny, and cool Armando. Today we will be yapping about the Netflix film All Quiet on the Western Front in 2022.
Hi, I'm Asa. I was really excited to discuss this. It's a German language adaptation of Remarque's novel, which critics say is the first to be produced in German, giving it a kind of quiet authority. Some even call it an ambitious, visceral exploration of life and loss in World War I. Bunch of stinking nerds.
Good to be here.
Hey, Loki, this movie hit me pretty hard. And in this discussion, we're going to talk about the emotional impact in the realism that was the cause of this emotional impact.
So, let's start at the beginning. Remember that scene at Paul Bromer's school when he and his friends had to sign up and enlist in the military?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of schoolyard banter as Paul's pals pressure him
Paul's
to
pals,
enlist.
I like that.
Yeah. Paul ends up forging a signature to get his parents' approval, even though his parents didn't really want him to enter the military.
Hey, that could never be me.
It shows how eager these kids are. So it kind of shows them the nationalism that students had in their country.
Right, in fact, the principal gives a fairy speech. He literally says, "You stand on the threshold to becoming men, the iron youth of Germany." Then he goes on, we're fortunate to live in such a great time.
Such a great time.
Your deeds will form the groundwater for a strong new root to grow.
Actually, Santiago, it's your turn.
Yeah. What do you mean? No, well, yeah, whatever. I'll talk it. I think it really underlined how, the older generation saw the war as noble. But we know historically that, many teachers and leaders in between 1914 and 1917 glorified the war that way. Remarque wrote the novel to counter that optimism. So our history expert review noted that these troops, the proud speeches and jingoistic phrases are exactly what Remarque's book had inspired.
So that speech kind of reminded me of propaganda posters around that time, right after World War I, when fascist Italy began to rise in power. Mussolini had
We love fascism.
No, we don't know.
Fascism that he was very strong in the propaganda business, and he was known for his excessive propaganda. And that kind of just reminded me that, hey, these people are glorifying war, and they're making it. They're trying to build a strong nationalist sentiment. Yeah. So as the students watch their speech, they're attempting to absorb it. And I was also kind of struck when Paul signs the enlistment papers, and someone shouts, "Congratulations, Private Balmer." It's Balmer. Yeah, you're headed to the front. And Paul at this point doesn't know about the front.
So after that, when they're off to war, we see they still have this nationalistic sentiment. So they feel that going off to war, the war's gonna be great. It's gonna be an easy win. They're gonna get into France really quickly, Paris in a couple of days. But we see Paul and his friends that when they arrive at the front, there's a scene showing a peaceful forest. There's birds and creek sounds, but suddenly it was shattered by a huge artillery barrage from the Allies. This script even begins with the fox then, and a mother fox nursing cubs, and boom, the whole world just explodes into pieces. That transition screams war's intrusion into peace. Then it cuts to the trenches.
In that explosion from the fox den to the trench made me jump. Historically, armies did try to bombard trenches at dawn or dusk to get soldiers off guard. The film didn't name a Pacific battle, but in 1917 was the year Passchendaele and Ypres. Huge artillery fights on the Western Front. The visual of mud and broken bodies in the trenches in stark. Soldiers are literally hugging the walls, doing what it's ever about, surviving in the next seconds.
The war suddenly felt very real indeed.
Yeah, I think so too.
I concur.
So, In the film, something that I really like is, and I thought was very realistic, was the trench life, and how like all the like every time I saw all the details, I got like very surprised. The rats, the wet mud, the boredom, and the student terror since they're at war. You know,
Yeah.
some well, we know that in history, like we've been told that trench warfare was like hellish, and I think the film made like a really good job in portraying that, since like there was like gunshots, machine gun fire, and I think also something very important to mention is that all of this happened while they had like food infections, so like
Yeah. It was just very terrible
so,
sanitary
like it was just like a
conditions.
very terrible thing that happened.
So now at this point, I want to talk about a very important scene. It's the gas attack scene. So like the lieutenant guy in charge, he says, "Gas, gas, gas," and all the boys go scrambling for their masks. And one soldier, his name was apparently Ludwig Belm, is slow and he gets kind of dunked in mud. His face just, and the lieutenant just kind of stands there and he's just yelling there through the mask. And then he starts cracking jokes, which is kind of weird because this is a very like serious, somber
Such a
war
fat
thing.
pig.
Yeah, and he calls him a fat pig. And then he says, if frogs could aim, they would be scratching us off the road with a spatula. So he's kind of like so he's kind of like the leader to this little like battalion, and he's trying to like hype him up, but he's also trying to make him realize, and he was trying to do this
Trying to make them,
from
like,
the beginning.
realize
He's
that they're
trying to make
young.
him realize that this is not like a walk in the park.
Also, y'all remember Cat's quick thinking? He rips off Paul's mask and forces it on, saving him. Cat's this savvy elder soldier, we should highlight how crucial Cat's is to Paul according to the review. Cat becomes a father figure, and the movie even adds some scenes deepening that bond. For example, Cat helps Paul with details like mask fitting, and later they joke about survival tips.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what it reminds me of? Of like when Cat shows the recruits how like to bail water from their trench. He calls it the blanket, meaning like quiet, evening ahead, and tells them all to blaze or freeze. I think that shows that like he's like the guide and whatnot. Even like at some point, he digs around the trench and finds a dead rat, bro. Like imagine just being there and find a dead rat. That's so disgusting.
It
bro.
shows like his
gross.
leadership. Like,
Yeah, bro.
his leadership role in the army.
Yeah. Also, and he kratos and tells a recruit, "You can split someone's chest with one of these," which is true. So meaning in trouble, but you really have to hit him hard. He says.
Yeah.
It's grim humor, but I think it shows how like in war, with all of this like disaster going on around you, you really need to like cope with like all the problems that you have in the moment, so you tend to just joke around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm beginning to like the dichotomy between like this film and a lot of World War II films, or just the World War II era, because in World War II it's very fast.
World War
it's,
One, World
it's
War
called
One.
no, I know. World War II is like very fast.
Yeah.
Blitzkrieg. There's not a whole lot of sedentary. There's not a whole lot of sedentary.
It's a lot of action. Like there's not like much.
So this is a very big stark contrast to World War One, where it's all taking place in front lines in no man's land. In no man's land. And I also like the details of the like artillery, like bombshells and mortars going off in the very distance, like it. Because the no man's land is very barren, but there's still clearly like a threat and danger there.
In my opinion, this is one of the best war films I've seen. The acting, it's just very real, and the history, I just appreciate everything that they do, and especially that you can put it in a German, it makes it more realistic too, which give authenticity. So that's just why I really like it.
So, Santiago, you wanna?
Yeah, I think it shows how hopeful behavior quickly turns desperate, because you have this thought of, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this and everything, and when that doesn't happen, you become desperate. I can't do this. It's honest. you know,
Yeah.
but Poe holds him and says, don't live, you know. And the screening was so tense, it's so realistic. You know, soldiers did break down in trenches from stress. You know, that's something that
they're
did
shell
happen.
shocked. A lot of them,
So,
a lot of them got shell shocked.
So, you know, comrades had to pull them together in order to, like, for them to keep their chill. So,
Because if you just like pause on the battlefield, you're cooked.
yeah. Cool.
And a lot of them were cooked.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed our discussion. Until next time.
Until next time.
Thank
guys.
you.
See y'all.
Thank you for listening.
See y'all.
Hey, Coach Siemens, this was a really good podcast. So, hey,
Free 100?
free
100?
110?
100? Hey, Coach Siemens, I have a crisp 1 in my pocket, so you know. Oh, and also in the attachment file, I have my Venmo.
Yeah.
I have my Venmo open, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Bye.
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 Bye, Coach.